Hello, this is my video for CST-339 benchmark, just an overview of the project that we worked on during the semester. So our project, our web app's name was Game+1. And so just as an agenda, this is stuff we're going to be going over during this presentation. First, we're going to go over some project objectives, functional overview of the website, technical aspects of the website, and the technologies we used, and then how we implemented teamwork and how we worked together for this project, and lastly, just a short closing. So some objectives for this web app or this project, things we wanted to integrate and develop was, first off, we wanted to implement user registration and login. Next thing was credit functionality. So we wanted to let the user create, read, update, delete games on the web app so they can track all their game collection. We wanted to use security implementation, and that was through Spring Security for authentication, and then securing our REST API endpoints, which goes into the REST API for our games. We wanted to create REST API endpoints, so if any other application wanted to consume our API, we would have that in this application. And a big part of this project was also design report and documentation, so we make sure to make UMLs, wireframes, all of that in between, just documenting everything we worked on. And that also did include Swagger documentation. So just some functional overview. Our company or our project, we just proposed to make a product for collectors to track all their game collection. So with this website, users would be able to create games and add images or details for that game. They can also delete any games on their list if they were to get rid of that game, edit any game if for some reason they wanted to edit the details, by updating, and then just creating new games. And users are also able to log in, create an account, and their information would be secured through Spring Security. So that's just an overview of the functionality of the site. And then some technical overview and how we implemented some technologies in this project. First off the bat, we used Java Spring Boot framework, which was a great framework to learn this semester. We were able to implement a lot of things that we have implemented in prior classes like Laravel, but very easier. Like for example, security was a big thing that was very simple and straightforward with Spring Security. As well as we use MySQL for relational database for keeping track of our data. We did that because we wanted a simple way to keep track of entities or data relationship between our data and our web app. Like I mentioned, we use Spring Security for authentication and securing our REST API. Dimeleaf was something else that we use for our front end and to keep track of our layouts and make our front end looking okay. Spring Data was used to integrate with the MySQL driver, so we could persist data that the user entered straight into the database without having to write, intricate SQL statements. We used the repository class integrated into Spring Data that let us very easily just run these queries inside our data access class. It made it very easy to persist the database. We also use n-layer design, like we did in our prior classes, where we made different layers and for separation of concerns and encapsulation. So we're not defining these queries inside our presentation layer. We're creating all those layers. Another technology we used was Loanbook and logging, and that made it very logging and annotations. That made it very easy to do like constructors or logging for our project. And last technology or framework we use is Agile methodology, which was what we used to keep track of our project management. And moving into user experience or user UI design, we went with a simplistic design, something very simple and easy to look at. And for that, we used Bootstrap and modals for the game views. And we wanted to do modals so we can just do a very simple single-page application. And we integrated a navigation bar. So some key technical design decisions, like I mentioned, we used agile management software, more specifically Jira, to keep track of our project management. Our design patterns were n-layer design, and that ensured separation of concerns. For API documentation design, we used Swagger. And then for collaborating, we used Git and GitHub, and that made it very easy to keep track of our work and keep separate branches. Our UI framework was Bootstrap and Dimeleaf, of course. And we used Spring Boot for our Java framework. So moving into object-oriented principles, there was quite a bit that we used for this project here. For example, inheritance polymorphism. We use a lot of that for when we were we were implementing, or we were inheriting interfaces in our data access classes or business classes. And then from there we could override those methods in that, and then we could use the contract from the interface to basically just encapsulate. And then that ensured reusability of code through inheritance. And like I mentioned, because we were using polymorphism, that made it very flexible to override those methods that we had in our interfaces and then add more methods separate from what was inside of the interfaces. And like I mentioned, inheritance of interfaces to ensure contract is implemented. So here's an example of our UML diagram, just a small part of it. You can see that we have a product data service, which is going to be used in our products repository, and that is an example of composition. Then we have our product business service, which is going to be inheriting our product business service interface and ensuring we have a contract there. Then we have our product REST service, which is also going to be inheriting our product business service interface. And so that's just an example, a small example of a UML. How we integrated teamwork. So we used Jira sprint planning for our milestones and keeping track of the time frames, epics for the features, tasks with points counts to ensure that our work was divided equally, horizontal development, meaning multiple epics could be worked on simultaneously. So we were always, me and Melanie were working on different things at the same time. Some collaboration tools, like I mentioned earlier, GitHub and Git for sharing code and version controlling through the different branches. We used Agile Scrum methodology in Jira and Microsoft Word Online for keeping track of our documentation. So here are some examples and some screenshots of our Agile board or Agile Scrum Jira board. So we have a Kanban board where we kept track of who was working on what and what was the progress of the tasks. You can see here we had different sections for in progress, blocked, or done, and we both kept track of our work through that. And here's just our sprint or all our epics, and you can see here that they were defined by sprints. So what worked and what didn't work? So what worked really well was code collaboration through GitHub. That was very easy to work with. Agile Scrum, the user stories and features assignment in Jira, and that ensured that we were able to focus and manage our time wisely, and also ensured that we were able to divide our work equally. We both contributed the same. So some things that did need improvement were merge conflicts. We at times were going into merge conflicts and conflicting schedules. It was kind of hard to meet up and sometimes work on our presentations. So now I'm just going to go over a very quick demonstration or demo of our app. So here's our site homepage, just a very simple homepage. I'm going to go ahead and from here we can either register and log in. We do have authentication. So if I try to go to my products, which is the page for a user logging in. Once they log in, they get redirected here. So you can see here, it's not going to let me go in unless I get logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I've logged into a user, and it's going to take us straight to, like I mentioned earlier, my products, which is just the homepage for the user now that they've logged in. It just has all the games that they've logged for their collection. And from here I can create a product. So if I were just to put something in here, create, it'll show it on the bottom here, and I can also edit this. So if I were to edit it like here and press edit, you can see here that has been edited, and I can also delete. Like you see here, so we have all our CRUD operations. The next one is, of course, viewing. So you can see here, we have this one. So yeah, that's all the CRUD operations, and we can also put images there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show a demonstration for registering a user. So I'm just going to make a test user real quick. Test user. And it says that I've successfully registered. So I'm going to go ahead and log in now. I think it was this. And I'm just going to put an incorrect password. As you can see here, it's going to tell me it's invalid. So we're going to sign in correctly. It's going to, correctly again. Oh, forgetting that. there we go. It's going to take us to, once again, my products, and it's empty because I don't have anything here. So I'm just going to create a product or a game so you can see here what that looks like. So test game, test. I'm just going to just put stuff in here for now. And it does work for games. So if I go in here and copy this image here, oops, create, and there we go. We can see that game that I just logged. And I mentioned we can also edit. So if we do edited here on the publisher, you can see test game, and it's been edited right there, and we can delete. And there we go, it's gone. So last thing I'm going to show here is our service. So if we go to service, actually let's go on my products real quick because I am logged in. Let's log out, and if we try to go to one of our endpoints for our API, so for example my products, which is going to show the user logged in products, is going to see that we're not logged in. So let's log in real quick with one of them. There we go, and we can go to one of the endpoints, which is service my products. It's going to show a JSON view. Get my products. It's going to show a JSON view or JSON file or JSON just format of all our games that we have for that user. That's one of the endpoints. Other endpoints is get products, which will show the products for everyone. You can see, there we go. This can be easily implemented in our application later on, feature 2, for a profile to show all the products. We just call the endpoint to get the data. And if we do get product and we just put, we pass like maybe an ID of one, it would just show one. So those are the three endpoints. And that is a demonstration of our web app. So moving forward here, some notation bugs or issues is there is no functionality for admin at this point, so it'd be great to add that. Or for user profiles, like I mentioned, we could use that API for getting my products to get this implemented. And users cannot edit profiles. A bug that we do have is when editing a game, instead of when there's an error or something like an error for editing the game. So if we're missing like a field, it's going to give you an error. Instead of displaying it just for that one single game, it's going to display it for every single one. So that's a bug that we know about. But yeah, that's everything here for this presentation. Thank you for watching.